Hi, good morning. Today I really want to draw in here, but I have no ideas for what I want to draw. So I thought it might be fun to bring you along for my process for how to be creative without knowing what you want to draw. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull out some of these markers, and I might use my colored pencils that I have in here. So grab your sketchbooks and let's get creative together. The very first thing that I like to do is to pick out 3 or 4 different light colored alcohol markers, and I just kind of start drawing blobs. This one's a little too dark. I'm gonna go for a lighter one, and this one is still a little too light, so I'm gonna go with a different one, and hopefully this is the right. There we go. So back to what I was saying. I like to just kind of draw shapes, draw blobs, do whatever my heart desires in this space, and follow wherever my hand takes me. I don't know what I'm drawing at this point. I might pop a picture up on the screen of what it ends up being so that you can kind of see where I'm going. But right now when I'm drawing this, I have no plans. I think that I'm going in an organic direction, like some kind of an animal, because of the circles that I'm drawing. But at this point, I'm just kind of having fun putting something on the page. Once I feel pretty done with the first color, I'll take a second color and just kind of give some accents to that first color. So I go over some spots here, some spots there, almost no rhyme or reason. I just still do what my heart desires in this point. I'm still having a blast just putting something down on the page. And there's some element of freeness by being creative in this way, because I want to be creative, but I don't know what I want to draw. But this is still letting that feeling of I need to get this out onto the paper. Getting your creativity out in this way is so low stress, and I personally find that when I do it this way, I take more chances and I take more risks, and I find out how to problem solve. And that's a big part of art, is when something isn't making sense in the picture, it's your problem solving part of the brain that makes you figure it out, makes you connect the lines in a way that makes sense. And this kind of forces you to do that, especially when it's marker. You can't erase this. Anyway, so I'm going over this with my shading color now. This is the darkest color that I have picked out. And at this point, I can definitely feel that I want this to be some sort of bison. And what's really cool, if you haven't noticed, is this bison has 2 front legs. I wouldn't have drawn it that way if I was drawing it on purpose. So this is already something really exciting for me. I'm gonna be done with the alcohol markers now, and I am going around and just adding some line art to the pieces that make sense. One of the rules that I like to set up for myself is that I like to honor the lines that I made with the markers first. And so what that means is I try to use the lines and be as creative as I can with the lines that I have already. That kind of forces me to problem solve. But in this case, I can tell that he needs a second ear. So I'm going to just allow him to have a second ear, and I will go against my rules. So now that I have the first guy pretty much done with the line out art for now, I'm going to see if I can recreate him on this other page. He turned out really cute, and I want to see how he looks from the front, but I also might change some things. I had so much fun doing the method of the alcohol markers first for that first guy that I want to do that again here, even though I do know what I want him to kind of look like. but I'm still letting my arm spaz out sometimes and give its own lines when it wants to. So we'll see how this one turns out. I remember being a kid and just zoning out at the carpet or at the wall and seeing animals or people in the carpet. So like some of the that sounds really crazy. I hope you know what I'm talking about. So if I'm looking at the carpet and there's like a bunch of dots in the carpet, different colors, the dots kind of start to take shape, and you imagine that there's a person in this position or is smiling back at you, or you imagine that this line is creating a fox, or that this line looks like a dog laying down. Just little cute things in the carpet. Doing art this way kind of scratches the same itch in my brain. So this is very satisfying, and I can't say it enough how much fun I'm having doing this. I am so in love with doing line art this way for hair, for hairy creatures. It looks so wispy and just magical. And I forgot to add more than just 2 legs when I did the alcohol markers at first. So I'm adding in the second set of legs, and I don't realize at this point that I should probably add the 3rd set of back legs too, because remember, he is a 6-legged creature after all. I do add that later, but not yet, because my brain still isn't catching up to that fact. I am just having way too much fun doing this, and this little creature is turning out so cute every time. So I still want to draw this one more time. The itch hasn't fully been scratched yet. I still want it to look a little bit different from the last one, just in the same way that the last one looked a little bit different than the first one. It's almost different iterations of the same creature. I really, really want this ear to be as flowy and mystical as it can possibly be. So this ear just makes absolutely no sense in the context of all the other cows that are on this page. So now that all of the 3 cows are pretty much done, I want to go back and just add some final touches with the line art before I continue. Maybe give all of them finished eyeballs. Oh man, I always do that. The wrong side. Anyway, so the cows are done. I don't really have any more itch to scratch as far as drawing more cows or bison, so I want to finish this spread in a very aesthetically pleasing way. I introduced this green color that's kind of the same tone as the other colors that I was using, but it's green. It's not yellow or pink or purple. And I figure, what is one thing that all of these creatures might have in common? Grass. They all definitely eat grass. So I'm trying to make this grass look Very whimsical and pretty. And of course, I have to add a cowbell because why not? I was watching this one channel a long time ago, and they said that if you want something to look gold, that the trick is to add a little bit of green in it. So I don't know if that's what I was going for, but that just popped in my head, so I added some green. And I decided to add a layer of gray to give it some three-dimensionality. And since I added gray here, I go heavy on the gray and just add gray everywhere to all the cows. I may or may not regret doing a little bit too much gray. I don't know, you'll have to let me know how the gray adds or maybe distracts from the final piece. After I finished out the right page, I looked back at the left one and decided it was a little too blank here and I didn't want to fill it out with just more grass. So I decided to add a really funky moo. And I think it does really well to draw some of the weight downwards. And I do like that the way that this moo is written out makes it seem like this bison in particular is singing. That's what I like to picture anyway. And this is what it's looking like so far. This is where I add the gray to a lot of different places, and it definitely helps to add some details and also fill out some spots that maybe were missing some color or need to be pushed back some because maybe they're further in the distance than other parts of the body. Look at how cute this hair turned out. I love this hair. And this is where I decided to go a little bit heavy-handed with my gray under the head, and we will see if I end up problem-solving my way out of it. I finally realize that this is a six-legged creature and needs another set of legs in the back. This is the only thing that I can think of to problem solve the gray issue that I just created under the face. And this is a style that I've been doing recently where I do shadow or shading on the face and then I add lines to it also. And I think it helped. It at least made it look on purpose. And here is a close-up of how the spread is looking at this point. Now is where I could totally be done and be super happy and thrilled with what came out of my brain and got spat out onto the page. But now is where the real fun comes in because I waited a couple of days and then I kept looking at this thinking this guy on the left is missing something epic. So I take out my colored pencils and I give him the most luscious, beautiful rainbow fur that you have ever seen on an imaginary bison in your life. I wasn't sure if this would turn out the way that I'm doing this, so I kind of used this spot around the neck as a testing spot, and I love how it turns out. That's when I decided that I need to continue this. So over the next 4 hours, I give him a full makeover and turn him into the beautiful beast that he was born to be. I decided to work with the colors of the markers underneath and only kind of use the colored pencils as accents to what was already there to begin with. Oh, my son was really excited about the moo. So we talked about how Moo says moo. So I'm slowly starting to build up each tuft of fur with different colors here and there. So I will do a little bit of blue, a little bit of green, and the spot that I found makes the most difference is the spot underneath the tuft. As long as you add a dark blue or a dark color in that spot beneath the fur, it's gonna all come together. If you notice, there is a little bit of bleed through from the previous page, right in like the temple area. And as I'm working around the head, I'm taking that into consideration and trying to decide how I'm going to either work with it or cover it up. And I decide to cover it up with a horn. One of the colors that I haven't used at all yet is orange. So I decided that to kind of get this horn to stand out, I will turn it orange. It turns out super, super cool. It makes me wish that I drew horns for all of them. These legs were definitely the most challenging to do because with my silly lines that I drew beforehand, I destined these spots to be curly hair. Curly hair is not my forte, so even though I feel really confident in how the last three areas worked with the head and the neck spots, those were straight pieces of hair. I finally got into a rhythm there, but this is just a whole different ball game now that it's curly. So I try some things and then see if it turns out, and it totally turns out. So I do the same thing for the back leg, and I just kind of find a rhythm there too, and I just kind of let myself zone out. Once I added all that dark blue, it started to look really drowned out by the blue, so I had to make sure to add the brightness back in with the yellow. And if you haven't noticed, I've been using a paint pen as white little dots here and there to add just the little tiniest hint of magic to it. The yellow and the orange, the yellow and the pink together, the way that it kind of makes orange, that is my absolute favorite part of this whole piece, is that those two colors mixing together and how magical it looks. Now that the fur is done, I have to add some finishing touches, and this is how the spread turns out completely. I love that you can see what it started out with on the right and what it could turn into with just a little bit of time and effort with the colored pencil on the left. So thanks for getting creative with me, and I will see you next time.